Ooh, the days are getting colder and the Forex market is getting icier. The room is getting darker. That's because I'm recording this much later. You guys know it. I base my trading largely around price manipulations, taking advantage of the other traders when they lose their money. And we like to make money. So it's a lot easier for us to jump in after we see the other traders losing their money. So if we know when they're going to be losing their money, when the price is getting manipulated, when the banks are taking money from those silly old stupid retail traders, then we can truly know when to enter trades. This video is going to be all about how to spot market manipulations, how to spot when other traders are getting stopped out, when they do in fact lose money, and then that way we will know when we actually want to enter. We'll also touch a little bit on your actual entry requirements after that. And then you guys can do it for yourself. You can be a pro like me. This is how to spot market manipulations like a pro. All right, guys, there are many different shapes and styles to market manipulation. So before we jump into it and I give you all the details, please make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can join in on future content, and you can watch the live stream so you can actually see what trades I'm taking each day and see the breakdowns of that. Right, guys, so starting off with just the most obvious, simplest one, it's going to be a news-based market manipulation. This is essentially when there's going to be some sort of major news coming out. If you're looking at something like the NFP, I don't really have to show you guys anything on the chart here. It's going to be pretty obvious to explain. Usually what's going to happen with the NFP is there's going to be a fake out in one direction, and that's going to be to gather liquidity, and then the actual direction that it's going to be moving is going to move in the opposite direction. So you're going to see something like this where it's going to fake out to the one side, gather a bunch of liquidity, fake out people who are then going to be jumping into those trades, and then it's actually going to move in that other direction. A lot of the time with news-based things, it ends up coming back to the same spot. So it might go a little bit further and then come back and then just kind of plateau, kind of like a heartbeat. And this is the kind of market manipulation that we just don't even want to be dealing with. So that's, first of all, I want to get that out of the way. Anything that's just going to be kind of like something like this, where it's going to be news-based, we want to completely avoid, because that's just not something that we're going to be able to take advantage of. We can just not trade during that time. And then we can move on and wait maybe another 15 minutes after the news release, and then look at actual what played out, and then maybe there is some sort of manipulation that is actually advantageous. So jumping into things that actually make a lot of sense here, we're going to start off with something quite easy to find, quite easy to spot out. Jumping to the Euro USD, because this is a trade that I took this morning here, and with the Euro USD, it's very, very easy to see something like this. When you see a range being formed just side to side like that, and you're seeing multiple touches all along these highs, and then you see a very obvious breakout to the upside on a lower time frame, but you see a closure back within that range on the higher time frame. Very, very simple here, guys. This is the easiest to spot because you're just going to see just one massive wick like this. What that's going to tell us is that it did gather all these stops, faked out people to the upside, faked out lower time frame based traders, and then closed back within, and then you're going to be able to enter on a retest. This is a trade that I did in fact take this morning. It's just something that I wanted to point out here. We entered on that retest, and then we shorted down to those range lows. A nice and easy trade there. I do have a video actually on this strategy. I think it was my first trading strategy that was profitable. If you guys are interested in watching that, that's somewhere on my channel. That's called my first trading strategy. The thing to note here, guys, in a setup like this, what we're going to often see if you are trading the lower time frame, let's say you're looking at the 5 minute, you're trying to day trade here, guys, you see a massive strong candle, right? This is very, very common because that's going to cause even more bait for the lower time frame traders to say, yes, that's a breakout, and then they will be buying the retest down here, and then they'll be looking to go long, and really they're wrong. They get stopped out, and then that creates more liquidity for the market makers to make even more money, moves the market in even more of their direction. Now, the thing that we want to pay attention to is right here. We want to see, okay, how far along is the major time frame, right? So I like to use an hourly as a major time frame as a day trader. Maybe as a swing trader, you can use the daily, or if you're doing a little bit slower day trading, maybe the 4 hour, you can see kind of how things are closing. I personally like to use the hourly and then just keep that up atop here. Now I noticed something very, very common with setups like this is if it gets close to the end of the hour, and you're seeing this breakout. In this case, it is not that way. It was on the it says 5:20, so it was only 20 minutes into the hour when it did break out. But I noticed very, very often, if it were maybe only 40 on the 45 minute, it's going to be very beneficial for you to wait to see when that hourly closes, because so often it does in fact break out and then comes all the way back in on the hourly close. So a perfect example of that, I just took a quick scan here. I found one on UJ where you can see multiple lows here, very similar to what we were seeing on EU. We saw the multiple lows and then it really broke out to the downside here, right? And we're seeing right around 1240, right? That's when it's breaking down, and 1245 roughly, and then right at the last 10 minutes it comes deep back in and then closes right back up here. So you can see how that hourly candle closes. So if you are close to the hour, that's something that I really like to watch out for. See those closes right there, because then you're most likely going to end up seeing some sort of wicking pattern like that, and then continuation to the upside. So this is actually something that I would be rather bullish on. We did actually make a call on this on the Monday analysis for this to continue higher. So this looks fantastic actually for me. I might look for a trade on this tomorrow morning. Now, the next thing that we want to take note of for spotting possible manipulations is what I've talked about before, is multiple tests of specific levels, right? So this is going to trick retail traders into thinking that a stop position is actually strong. So if they see multiple tests here, they say, okay, it held there twice before, so most likely it's going to hold again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place an order, somewhere around there, and then I'll put my stops, kind of give it a little bit of room, and then travel up like this. Well, the retail trader is still right. They still have the general trend direction, right? Because maybe they saw this massive move, they want to get in on a trade, and then they look for a pullback and they enter around here with a stop, and then they just barely get stopped out. That's very, very common, and this is something that you're going to be wanting to watch for. Same sort of thing looking back at EURUSD. We saw 1, 2, 3 touches on those highs. You can see 1, 2, 3 touches on the lower time frame here. That's really going to tell us that there's going to be a lot of stops hiding behind that. So there's a more likely place for us to be looking for those market manipulations. Now then, there's another version of this that is in fact a harder way to spot the market manipulations. Here's an example where GU did create multiple lows here, and it's quite obvious that there could be a hunt there, right? Because we saw multiple tests out of that low, very, very similar. But you're seeing on the hourly, it's actually closing back below, right? So this is then maybe going to trick some more people to jump into the market, right? So now, how do we spot this? Well, what we can do is we always want to watch this area, right? And I never like to breakout trade. This is particularly why, because even if it closes like this, it's still very common for it to come back out, and you're basically already selling a low, in my opinion. So if you're actually breakout trading this low here, you're already on the low of this range, and it could just continue to range, and it could go a little bit further, and then it comes back in, and then in this way, or a little bit further each time. Could just kind of go randomly and be just a messy range. It doesn't have to be a very clean range. So I don't breakout trade at all, because you're essentially selling a low, or you're buying a high up here and then it dumps back down. Essentially the exact same thing happened on the top side here. Multiple highs, broke out to the upside, and then dumped back down. And you can see this is in fact actually a messy range, just as I'm saying. So what do we do to make sure that we know that this is actually a fake out, that this is actually some sort of market manipulation, just to catch those stops? Well, you really want to watch the reaction of the price when it gets to that level. And this is going to be a little bit more difficult because you're not going to see that clean close. But what we can do is we can see, okay, there's obvious consolidation on that level, and it's just not exactly on this level, right? Oftentimes it will have to actually dump with power. And if you want, you can use volume to your aid here to see if there's actually volume supporting this breakout. I don't particularly use volume. I just use kind of the structure of the candles, right? So once I see the movement come right back above basically what's breaking us out, Then I'm saying, okay, I figure that that's actually a breakout, fake out. And then we're just going to come back and we're going to look for a retest here. And then we're going to look for our long. And then we can really take advantage of that. And that's a little bit more of an advanced tactic of the exact same logic of what we were using. We're just using multiple candles at this point, and we just want to look for that retest and then come back up. It's essentially the exact same thing as what I just showed you here on Euro USD, where I can say, okay, look at that retest. This is just much cleaner, and this is going to be a lot easier for beginners to spot. But once you get a little bit better, a little bit smarter, trading like me, I guess, you're going to start noticing these a little bit more, and you're going to be able to watch them on the lower time frame. If I was a beginner like you, I would just skip these for now, and then look for those eventually, kind of get a feel for them eventually. But if you do see the wicks above the levels, then in one candle, then it's going to be a really strong, obvious sign because the momentum is really there backing you up. That's essentially all I have to say about market manipulations there, guys. Hopefully that made some good sense to you. Hopefully you can kind of use that knowledge into developing your own strategy there, improving your strategy, and then stopping yourself from getting manipulated in the same manner. What we essentially want to be doing is waiting for these market manipulations to happen, and then we can really take advantage of the market that way, because it's less likely for the market to manipulate your traders multiple times in a row. Now, since we're just playing a probability game, I do say it's less likely. It does happen sometimes. It does manipulate one side, comes back, manipulates the other way. It's very common. Also, it's just not as common, and so we want to really reduce our risk. So this is essentially how I'm going to be trading. I'm going to be looking for things like this, and then we're going to be looking for entries. And that's the best way I think you can trade with just price action. So hopefully this was really, really useful for you guys. Please make sure you hit that like button. If this does provide some sort of value for you, go ahead and test it out, try it, look at it, back test it, and then hit that subscribe button and join the live streams and tell me how much it helps you, because I would love to hear when every time somebody tells me how much these videos are helping them. It means so much to me, and I will see you guys next time. Follow me on Instagram.
Listen.